Do you guys have any idea how long I've been waiting for this? Actually, that can be calculated because I first showed this off, what was it, CES, a year and a half ago? This, it's finally here, is ASUS's 144 hertz, 4K, HDR with 1000 nit peak brightness, G-Sync gaming monitor. This is it. This is quite literally monitor God mode. It has
everything.
And we get to be the first to take a finished model for a test drive. And finished comes with a big asterisk because this isn't quite final hardware and we don't have quite the final drivers. But I couldn't wait. Speaking of not being able to wait, you won't be able to wait to try out GlassWire. GlassWire is a firewall that displays your PC's incoming and outgoing network connections in real time. And you can use offer code Linus to get 25% off GlassWire 2.0. Check it out at the link below. Okay, so step number one is to get this bad boy, and I did assume it's gender, I'm sorry. Get this bad mofo, is that better? Neutral? Get this thing set up. I have waited so long for this, and it's not ASUS's fault, or so they say. Although I think NVIDIA's actually been pretty upfront that it's been their fault. So what has delayed it is not anything about the panel. Like, they showed this thing working. They had games running on it in the past. What's delayed it has been getting HDR working with G-Sync, because individually those technologies are complicated enough. And having them working at the same time, because this isn't like your typical HD aren't. Like those monitors out there that claim to have HDR support, where they'll accept an HDR10 input, but they have maybe 350 or maybe 450 nit peak brightness. This uses 384 zones of full array backlighting in order to achieve 1000 nit peak brightness and deep blacks, at least in theory. So we've only seen it at this stage of production on the BFG big effin' displays that NVIDIA showed at CES this year. And you can actually see, like, physically, this thing is loaded for bear. I mean, you don't have a full array backlight without compromising on things like thickness. So ASUS's literature claims it can draw up to 180 watts from the wall. It's thick. It's got big old thick bezels, which they justify by saying, realistically, you weren't going to be running more than one of these off of a single system at 4K 144 FPS anyway. And, I mean, I guess that's all there is to really say about it physically, isn't there? I'm going to get it turned on. Oh, no, there is more. While James is getting the system set up, let's take you guys for a quick tour of the stand. So it goes up and down about like yay. It goes side to side about like yay. It tilts up and down about like yay, and it pivots about like yay. So if you like your 4K 144 hertz this way because you're some kind of a monster, you're playing Peggle or something. Alternately, you can use this for exactly what I use it for, which is easier access to the I/O. So it's got a single HDMI 2.0, though it should be noted that even HDMI 2.0 is nowhere near able to run 144 hertz 4K. You're going to be limited to 60 hertz. And then DisplayPort 1.4. And that is where the magic happens. With a compatible graphics card, you can drive that massive resolution over a single cable. Oh, and it also has a USB hub and a pass-through audio jack. Oh, great. Okay, so no, we're not ready to turn it on quite yet, because I guess we have to talk about the lighting effects. So it's got it's got a customizable underglow. You can put your own lens in there and have it say or show whatever you want. You just write on the included blanks with a Sharpie. It's got a projected ROG logo that it fires at the wall behind it. See that coming out of the back here? It's got a matching ROG. It's got a matching ROG logo on the stand right here, and then it's got full Aura Sync compatibility on the RGB logo on the back, because that's the side of this monitor that I'm gonna look at. I mean, I don't actually know the final pricing, but if I'm gonna pay however much this thing's gonna cost, I want to enjoy it from every side. Every side. Let's start by making sure that we're running at 4K 144 hertz. Okay. Because getting that going is a little bit tricky. You do need to make sure you're using a high quality DisplayPort cable, and that's actually an overclocked refresh rate. So what happens is you enable max refresh rate 144 hertz in the control panel of the monitor, and then it enables 144 hertz 4K. Now, you are giving up something here, because as soon as you go past, I think it's 96 hertz at 4K, you're going to be giving up some of the chroma subsampling. So you're going to be giving up some of your color reproduction. And if you actually look really closely here, we're getting a little bit of fringing on the text. But the theory is that you're not going to really notice this in games. So let's go ahead and hit up CSGO. Now, this is a game that should actually be able to run at 4K, 144 frames per second, even at pretty high details on this hardware. But that's not going to be true of most things. Even though we're running a GTX 1080 Ti, and we got an email from ASUS literally 9 minutes ago saying that Titan V should also work, a lot of games are just straight up not going to be able to take advantage of the 144 hertz refresh rate, which is, I guess, where G-Sync comes in, because even if you're hovering between 45 and 85, it's going to look smooth. So CSGO doesn't support HDR. So what we've done is turned it off in the Windows control panel. Man, this thing is butter smooth. You can't even see an individual pixel. Now, I've seen this display running in demos, but I've never actually been able to drive. Like, check this out. Like, Brandon, even look at stuff that's like far away like this. And we're running at 144 frames per second, like from a reasonable distance. And like even without any backlight strobing. As I move back and forth, you can still read text. So Fortnite's not the most demanding game out there, but at 4K, everything but AA set to epic, I still am expecting this to be a little bit challenging. Here we go. So even with a GTX 1080 Ti, we're looking at about 75, 65 frames per second. Is this guy following me? Dude, I don't know what I'm doing. So initial impressions here, although we aren't running in HDR, are that the chroma subsampling doesn't seem to be hurting us yet, but we are going to reserve judgment for when... Is this really a real player? Wow, you suck. It actually helps to offset it that you've got these nice little backgrounds or drop shadows on all the text, because that's where you'd be most likely to see it. But we're going to reserve full judgment for when we do the full review on the finished hardware with the finished drivers. This does look really good, though. I gotta say, I am impressed with everything. Depth of blacks, vibrance of colors without overdoing it. It looks really good. Okay, so for HDR, we're going to enable it within the Windows control panel. You do need a handful of things. Obviously, a supported graphics card with the right firmware. Apparently, NVIDIA is planning to release a firmware updater tool just in case you have an older 1080 Ti that needs to be flashed. You need the latest Spring Creators Update, and of course, you need a title like Destiny 2 that has support for HDR. So we're tuning up our graphics settings for Destiny 2. Honestly, we're not even going to try and crank this because even with SLI, which has been sort of an abandoned stepchild for both NVIDIA and game developers over the last little while, we're not going to expect to be able to run a game like this at max settings, 144 hertz. Are these bad guys? Cool. I can definitely feel the reduction in frame rate, but it's very usable. I gotta say, my biggest criticism of the big effing gaming displays was that while the blacks are really deep, like you can see here in the shadows on the truck, or like under the shadows of the trees, and and the whites were really bright. It was really noticeable when a light moved from one zone into another one in the full array backlight. On the smaller display, not so much. It is a lot harder to pick up on. While there's a little bit, okay, just go away. While there's a little bit of halo, it's not bad. Like, you see that? So I gotta tell you guys, first impressions, very impressed. Is it worth the money? Well, given that we don't know the price yet, and given that we don't have the final hardware yet, we're gonna have to reserve judgment for the full review, which will be coming. But it is looking very, very promising. Speaking of promising, I promised that I would tell you guys about FreshBooks today. FreshBooks is the small business accounting solution built for how you want to work. It's designed for small business owners and freelancers and is a simple way to be more productive, more organized, and get paid faster. You can create and send professional-looking invoices in less than 30 seconds. You can set up online payments with just a couple of clicks and get paid up to 4 days faster. You can see when your client has seen an invoice to put an end to the guessing games, and you can take advantage of their apps for both Android and iOS that allow you to track your hours and your expenses on the go. So for your unrestricted 30-day free trial, check out freshbooks.com/techtips. We're going to have that linked below. So thanks for watching, guys. If you disliked this video, you can hit that button. But if you liked it, hit like, get subscribed, maybe consider checking out where to buy the stuff we featured. You can't buy it yet, but whatever. In the video description. Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts that are not like this one. They're different from this one, but they're cool as well. And our community forum, which you should totally join.